It's Rut and River.
Yes.
Correct.
R-U-T.
I rest my beard hair on it.
And then you know you're there.
Like a nice, gentle little pillow for my beard.
Right.
And then I'm all up in it.
Oh.
I'm like Kobe beef for sharks.
Can I ask you, what made you guys call me up about, well, this?
It's what tickles our fancy.
Exactly.
Okay.
Thought the Rocky Mountains would be rockier.
John Denver is not accurate.
Man.
A guy like you, who has absolutely no clue, and I can hear it in your voice, that, I mean, you're a blank canvas. I mean, I can just start with you like from scratch.
You're going to tell me, a grown man, you're telling me what lure to use and how to fish?
You guys didn't snap your whopper plopper off either, though. Sorry, I blew up over that.
And we are back. This is the Rut and River Pursuits podcast. And we are around the Sonic Campfire. This is Reality Outdoor Radio, where our mission is to get you in the outdoors by introducing you to the skills, products, and people that you can trust.
You can trust them.
You betcha.
My name's Brian, and who do I have around the table with me tonight?
I'm Will.
Hey, I'm Ryan.
This is Dave.
I'm Steve.
It's Bucky.
Hey.
What's up, buddy?
Glad to have everybody. Bucky, can you tell us about this month's sponsor?
This month's episodes are brought to you in part by Scared Fishless Tackle Company. You'll find everything you need to be successful on the water there. These soft plastics are rugged. Will caught multiple fish on the same 6-inch diamondback worm during our most recent pike and bass trip to New York.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, he did.
He slayed
Slaying
'em.
them.
Need a custom color or bait made? Hey, guys, they do that too.
Nice.
Check them out at scaredfishless.com.
Scared fishless.
Or on Instagram and the Facebooks at Scared Fishless.
Scared fishless.
All right, everybody. As everybody knows, this is June, which is the month that we've been calling Bass-tastic.
It's been
Bass-tastic.
Bass-tastic.
Oh, it's Bass-tastic.
We're winding her down, though, aren't we?
Yeah. But tonight I am so excited. There is no better person to
Don't be
end-
bassful.
I'm not going to be bassful. There is no better person to end the month of June as Bass-tastic than with the guest that we have tonight.
Is that right?
Do tell.
What do you got for us, bud?
What did you do, Pick?
I am so excited. As most of you should know, I do a lot of kayak fishing.
Get out of here.
No, I do.
Wow.
I do. Yeah, most of the fishing I do is a kayak. So what better person to end Bass-tastic with than the godfather of bass fishing on a kayak?
Is that right?
Than Mr. Chad Hoover.
Oh, man.
Chad, how are you?
I'm pretty good, man.
Hey,
Pretty
Chad.
Good. It's nice to have you.
Well, thanks. Appreciate you having me. I do a little fishing off a kayak myself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
I'd say so.
I think I've seen a
Understatement.
couple videos and a television show by the name of Kayak Bass and TV. Is that correct?
Yes, and Not Right Kayak Fishing on Sportsman, which we're actually changing the name of that show this coming season. I don't know
Really?
what yet.
This
Yeah.
just in.
You heard it
probably
first.
going to change it to either kayak bass fishing, or we're just going to have like a name my show contest and let people just come up with something. You know what I mean?
And that's not as in KNOT, correct?
Yeah, KNOT, like I'm not right.
Yeah.
I'm left-handed. I got a jacked up sense of humor. I tie knots really well, or right. Yeah, all that.
Properly.
People kept saying my whole life I was not right when I was in the Navy, and so I finally just embraced it and went with it and said, okay, you're right. I agree. I'm a passenger on this ride just like everybody else. Half the stuff that comes out of my mouth, I'm experiencing for the first time just like everybody else is. You know what I mean?
That's awesome.
That's why I laugh at some of the stuff that I say, because I can't believe I just said it either.
Well, thanks again for being with us tonight, Chad. But so give us a 50,000-foot view of Chad Hoover and your association with the kayak bass fishing.
Okay, so I was the guy that got into kayak fishing early on. A lot of people refer to me as one of the pioneers or OGs or whatever the hell you want to call it. Actually, Dennis Spike and some of those guys out in California are the true like OGs, like the guys that started it. By the time I saw it, it was already a good idea. I grew up fishing in pirogues and canoes and john boats and things along those lines. So the first time I saw a kayak, the light bulb went off immediately, or like a fishing kayak. The light bulb, actually a plastic kayak, I should say. It wasn't really a fishing kayak yet. the light bulb went off. And I was in the Navy. I was in the aviation world. And like, as soon as I saw the first kayak, I thought, oh my God, man, if these things had this, and this, they would be that much better. And I'm kind of still on that quest to help get that perfect fishing kayak, or as close to perfect as we can get. And, so I was in the saltwater world. I fished in a lot of saltwater tournaments because that's where kayak fishing started on the fringe. It started in saltwater, and there was very few people doing it. And I hated always being the redheaded stepchild on the forums where the kayak fishing or the freshwater fishing board was at the bottom. Nobody ever went there, or like the people that were there were the outcasts. It was the bass fishing forum was the bottom forum on the freshwater forum, which was the bottom forum on that. So I always was frustrated that there wasn't a kayak bass fishing forum. So one day, while sitting in a room with a buddy who worked in the IT world, I said, man, somebody should start a kayak bass fishing website. I'm sick of being the redheaded stepchild on all of these pages. And he was like, why don't you start it? And I was like,
boom.
I don't know anything about websites. I don't even know how to buy a website. So he said, well, here, I'll help you. You go to this website, and this is like pre-GoDaddy and some of that other stuff. He looked up a URL and said, what do you want it to call it? I said, kayakbassfishing.com. And he searched it, and it was available.
Whoa,
and I was like, seriously? Kayakbassfishing.com's available? And he's like, yeah, man, it's available.
Sold.
And I said, okay, well, how do I buy it? And he said, I'll buy it for you. I'm already logged into my account, and you could just pay me for it. I was like, okay. So that's how it started. And then I started the webpage, and I had just finished writing the book, Kayak Bass Fishing, and I was using the webpage to launch that. And everybody was like, dude, you got to start a forum. I was like, I don't know how to start a forum. So I called my buddy who bought the website and said, you know how to start a forum? He's like, yeah, I'll put a forum on the webpage. He put a forum on the webpage. And the first month we had like 1,500 followers, or what were they called back then? Users. We had 1,500 users sign up in the first month. Nice. And I was like, holy cow. Like, man, we're on to something. And it grew to 5,000 within 3 or 4 months, and by the end of the first year, we were over 10,000 users, and people were clamoring for freshwater kayak fishing tournaments. And I just didn't really want to run more tournaments. I was doing charity tournaments with Tidewater Kayak Anglers Association, and I was doing a lot of fishing tournaments myself. And to be honest with you, I didn't want to run the tournaments because I wanted to fish in them. Like straight up, I was like, man, if I run these things, I can't fish in them. I already can't fish in this one. And people just kept on asking, and I was like, well, somebody needs to do this. So I started the online challenge series, which was just a way to fish, to kind of give the guys something to do and give them a place to compete and to create a forum, if you will, for catch, photo, release fishing. And we started that in 2009, and it went until 2013 before we actually did a full live meetup, true kayak bass fishing open, which was on Sandy Cooper the first time. And then it's just been one of those, hey, man, what you ought to do. And I've been the guy ever since then,
So back in 2009, when you first started that first online tournament, what was the media that you used to download the photos and such? Was it email? Was it PDF? Was it text?
No, I'm the kind of guy that if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. So I contacted that same buddy and said, how could we create a way for people to upload photos and measure them? And, we had been doing catch, photo, release tournaments. We just hadn't done them virtual yet. We would, honestly, a lot of people don't even know how the first catch, photo, release tournament started. The way it worked is you would go to a tournament and you would get your camera issued to you at the captain's meeting. And it was one of those old black, take a picture and then scroll the little dial in the corner thing.
Right.
And
you had a disposable cameras. Yeah.
Disposable camera. You had a number camera in a bag. If you used a digital camera, you had to come in, show them your memory card. They had to reformat it, give it back to you.
Wow.
And then when the tournament was over, you would turn in the camera or your digital card in a bag, and you get a claim ticket like you're turning in a coat. And the tournament directors, again, I was one of the early groups I was in with the Extreme Edge guys. We would load up all the cameras in bags and buckets and tubs, throw them in the back of a truck or one of the people's cars, and drive to a 1 hour photo. Turn in the cameras, tell them, hey, we're going to wait. Wow. Get them done as fast as you can. They would turn the 1 hour photos as fast as they can. We would tell them, hey, they have to go back in the bag with the number. We would get back to the tournament headquarters. 5 or 6 guys would sit down and we'd start sorting photos and writing the number on the photo and creating a tally. And that's how we determine who won the event.
Man, that sounds easy. You should do it that way, too.
It would sometimes take 4 to 6 hours to do the results. So there was a lot of drinking involved in the early catch photo release tournament.
How many times did Timmy, the freckle-faced kid at the photo shop, screw it up for everybody by putting the pictures in the wrong bag?
There was a few times when we would be midstream of the award ceremony and be like, in 5th place with 178 inches, Jimmy Smith. And the guy would come up and he would kind of stand there with a confused look on his face, but he would take his money and he would stand there. And 4th place. And then about 3 places from the top, when we got to 3rd place or 2nd place, somebody would go, hold on a second. Actually, I had 178 inches. That I should be at least right there. And then the guy standing there, we'd look at him and he'd go, yeah, I had like 160 inches. They're like, okay, well, what's your name? Run to the back. Oh, shoot, y'all's cards got switched. Sorry. That guy would come up, get his money. I mean, that happened a couple times. So, again, to answer your question, I contacted my buddy and said, what would the easiest way to be to do this? And he said, well, I could create a SQL Server database and we could use Microsoft Access to create a page and they could go upload their photos.
That's what I'm talking about.
Honestly, for a first stab at it, it was pretty dang cool. And then what happened is we got popular enough and we got enough traction that the page got hacked. So I got a message, ironically enough, from Dwayne Wally, who was running Mississippi Online Ventures back then. He was running his web service to where, he was just making money doing web development on the side. And he said, hey, man, if you need any help, let me know. I said, yeah, if you could help me get this forum back up, you really kind of saved my life. I'm having a fit with this online tournament thing, and we're going to have to figure out how to make this more secure. And he was like, well, look, I'll do your website. I'll get your forum moved over, and I'd like to take a stab at making a better tournament page. I said, dude, if you can make a tournament page, you can have that. That's a headache, right? Like, and if you can make it secure, and if you can make it do this, and this that mine doesn't currently do, dude, you'll be cooking with Crisco. And honestly, that was in November. We were rolling into another KBF Open on Kentucky Lake. He called me and he said, hey, man, I think I finally got this thing where I want it. We're almost ready to go live. I want to come to your event and pick a few beta testers, and let's really put it through the paces. I said, okay, cool. So he came to Kentucky Lake. We did a final run through. I walked out in the captain's meeting and I said, guys, I'm excited to announce we got a new tournament management system. We're not going to be using this old crap anymore. We're not going to be doing it the hard way. We're going to be using Tourney X, and it's going to go live tonight, and tomorrow we're going to fish the tournament. And Dwayne's heart about fell out of his butt.
Shut your mouth.
And that's how Tourney X got its start. That's how I rolled the dice and said, it's kind of like you teach the kids to swim by just throwing them in the pool. That's kind of what we did, Yeah. And
fortunately, it worked out, and it's still working today.
The rest is, as they say, history. And when we're continuing to evolve, there's still functionality on a daily basis that gets updated. Dwayne texted me last night, in fact, and said, hey, I got this, and this done. And I said, cool, when does that go live? He said, it's live now. So that's, 5 years ago, and we're still continuously improving, trying to create a better product. Yeah. So that's where we're at.
That's pretty
awesome.
That's
the 50,000 foot view. I kind of got drug into this thing. And then at the same time, I'm the kind of guy, if I'm going to do something, I'm not going to do it halfway.
Well, you had mentioned earlier, going to a national championship type format. How does that work? Like, how does the average angler or kayak, fisherman have a chance to even get in their hat in the ring in that?
So I'll be straight honest with you. One of the things I enjoy is I like playing poker. Okay, I spent 20 years in the Navy, and one of the things that we did to pass the time on long deployments and things was playing poker, right? Just straight up. And so I always watched the World Series of Poker on TV. I had actually gone to it as a spectator a couple times.
Oh, really?
When I was out for conferences in Vegas. Not like that I went there, but I was there and it happened to be going on. And I was like, what in the world is this? And so I was exposed to that World Series of Poker format. I said, so these guys have built this mega event, this big event that attracts poker players from all over the world, all over the country. And they've built this formula where you've got to buy in and they build this big event. And then one of the guys there said, yeah, man. And what's crazy is now that they've built the biggest event in the world, poker tournaments are sweeping the country. I said, so they didn't build all the little tournaments first and then it led up to this big tournament? He said, no. They created the World Series of Poker, and it was kind of a high rollers bought into it, and it's slow built from there. ABC Sports got involved a long time ago, and then it went off of TV for like 10, 15 years, but they kept building it through the casinos and through bars and things to where they built it by having, bunches of different methods and avenues to qualify. And that's when the light bulb went off. And I said, holy crap. So what I need to do is instead of trying to build this low level infrastructure and fight with every single different region that wants to do it this way or every tournament director that wants to do it that way, I need to just build the biggest tournament first.
Yeah.
And build the head of the dragon, and then we can build in the scales and the legs and the arm and the tail and all that crazy stuff after the fact, because it'll be much easier to get sponsors' attention if we go after one big event than it would be after trying to go after thousands of little events and take 5, 10, 15 years to get to the point where we start having a national championship.
Right.
And if you look at a model like that, it actually has worked, like you pointed out. So it's kind of genius.
So then I got lucky. I'll just be straight with you. I got lucky in that I was using a phrase called the Bass Pass. 4 months later, after I started it and I created the Bass Pass and I trademarked it, a little bass enterprise spinoff came out called Major League Fishing.
Huh.
I saw Major League
I've heard of them.
I saw Major League Fishing's first commercial, and I said to them, hey, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but you're using the phrase Bass Pass, and I have that trademarked. Oops. And they said, oh, no. We trademarked it. I said, no, you didn't. And even if you did, my trademark supersedes yours because I've been in existence since late 2008, early 2009. And you guys came into existence in 2013. So, when I was growing up, my papa said one time, hey, I'm sorry that the beginning of your story interrupted the middle of mine, but I said, I've been here for a minute. And he said, hold on, do you have anything to substantiate that? So I had all my paperwork and documentation. He called me back and he said, well, man, it looks like your dang on Bass Pass works and your trademark is good and all that looks. How about we trade off some advertising and you let us continue to use the phrase Bass Pass for the rest of the year, and then next year we'll change to something else or we'll work out something different. So in the original and I got a screenshot of it somewhere, the original year of Major League Fishing, Kayak Bass Fishing was listed as the number 2 sponsor of Major League Fishing.
Nice.
On their sponsor page. And they did that for me for a year in exchange for me kind of giving them the rights to use the phrase Bass Pass. But what was funny is I got on a conference call with them and they said, hey, Chad, we want to bring you in on this call, kind of early stages planning. Want you to hear what the plan is with Major League Fishing. And one of the guys on the call, I don't remember exactly who it was, said, yeah, one of the things we're going to do with Major League Fishing is we're going to use the World Series of Poker formula. We're going to build it backwards. We're going to build this big spectacle. We're going to use the names that are already out there, and we're going to reverse engineer it. And we're going to slowly but surely build all the tiers down to the grassroots level. And I was like, well, that solidifies my formula in my mind, because if all these heavy hitters are about to launch this series and they believe that the World Series of Poker formula is the way to go, and I'm already using the World Series of Poker formula as my way to go, I must be on the right track.
Sounds
I
like
was already doing catch photo release before they decided to do catch weigh release. And so I knew there I was on a good plan and trajectory and strategy and all that other stuff. And it just worked out. Like, I just kept grinding and things kept evolving and kayak fishing kept getting more popular. And then some fat redneck from Louisiana got on TV and started promoting it. And then people started saying, holy crap, this kayak fishing is awesome. And then kayak fishing itself is self-perpetuating. So then it just turned into, it grew to be more popular in freshwater than it was in saltwater.
Yeah, it has.
And I told everybody, they thought I was crazy at ICAST when I first started going. I set up a kayak in a booth at one of the sponsors, and people literally thought a spaceship had landed at ICAST. What is that? Where do you put your beer? Where are you going to put the fish? A gator bites your leg off. I mean, honestly, I heard everything. I went there and I really expected people to be like, oh my God, that is so crazy, dude. That's awesome. And I expected to kind of be the novelty. But honestly, the first year I went to ICAST, I was kind of the laughing stock. And now you go to ICAST and there's booths that don't have anything to do with kayak fishing, got a kayak in it just because they want to appeal to kayak fishermen. I do seminars on teaching people how to get sponsors, how to manage sponsorship relationships. I've done a few videos about it. You can't get quite as in depth and you can't be quite as forthcoming in a public video as you can, one-on-one with teaching guys that you've vetted a little bit on how to really go after sponsorships. But one of the things that I tell everybody, when you're going after a sponsorship relationship, you have to go after the yeah, but philosophy. Eliminate every yeah, but that they can come back to you with, and they won't have any reason to not sponsor you or to not have a relationship with you. Therefore, they'll talk themselves into it.
Right. Yeah,
so,
makes sense.
Along the way, I've used that philosophy. Along the way, I've applied that philosophy. And along the way, I'm also that guy that's just hard-headed enough that when you tell me a reason why something doesn't work, I'm going to go out of my way and hyper-focus on making sure that piece of the game is fixed. Anything that they've ever complained about, I've never seen it as major criticism. I've seen it as opportunity. When I owned a retail shop, when I first bought Hook One and I started trying to make it better, everything somebody said, I mean, yeah, it's a cool shop, but they don't do this. That was the next damn thing I was the best at. It was the next thing that I come over the top with. It was the next thing that you would never say that about me again. Like, I've screwed up a lot of things. I've screwed up very few things twice, right?
Yeah.
And so, except for marriage, I finally got that right on the third try. But
good on you.
Good on you.
But anyway, I've always had that mindset. And so for me, the best education was 12 solid years of going to Outdoor Retailer, ICAST, Bassmaster Classic, board meetings, product design meetings with the people in the industry who had not yet seen this vision, and have them all tell me why it wasn't going to work. Okay. Mm-hmm. That was the cheat sheet to the test of why I could make it work. Right. So to me, while everybody else would be getting discouraged and demoralized and like, oh, well, the biggest company in the game just told me you can't. Can I take enough time to tell you guys about my first stance or my first fight in the kayak fishing?
Go for it.
Evolution.
Uh-oh. Heck yeah.
I took a picture of myself standing up in a fishing kayak with a remote, the kind that you had a cord that you go to and you push a button. And I put an anchor on the cord so it was underwater to get this photo. And I was proud of this photo. And I was excited about the fact that I was standing up in this fishing kayak and that I had this great shot. I sent it to him. The first response I got back was, Chad, please do not post this picture publicly. We do not want to endorse standing in a kayak.
Yeah.
Should someone fall and impale themselves, we will be responsible if we're the ones endorsing it, promoting it, blah, blah, blah. And I said, yeah, that's why we need to build kayaks that are specifically designed to stand up in. And I'm going to tell you, there's even a lot of early pioneers in the kayak industry that didn't agree with me on this. And I got to give credit where credit's due. There's one guy out there that I had this conversation with, and we were 100% on the same sheet. He went and pushed it as hard as he could with the companies he was affiliated with. I pushed it as hard as I could, and I think together we kind of created a bit of the paradigm shift, and that's Drew Gregory from Jackson Kayak.
Jackson.
I said fishing kayaks have to be able to be stood up in.
Agree.
We need to be able to stand up, to flip, to pitch, to flip, to scout, to look at spots, to see a fish on the bed, to do this, to do that, to increase our clearance on the back cast, to whatever. Like, you just have to be able to stand up. And I was blown away by how much resistance I got. No, Chad, we cannot promote standing up and fishing from these boats. A guy named Dean Thomas out of Texas is one of the real, like, way back OGs. And he was standing up in his kayak and was like, dude, we got to be able to stand. Let's design these kayaks to stand up in. And they were like, no, guys, stop talking about standing up in fishing kayaks. People are going to kill themselves and we're going to be responsible. And we're like, that is stupid. People stand up in boats all the time. Nobody's saying don't stand up in a boat. They're designed to be stood up in. Fishermen stand up. That's what we do, right? That's how we fish.
Absolutely.
That's part of it. And so, yes, can you fish from a low vantage point? Can you skip under docks? Can you skip under overhanging brush? Is there advantage for that? Absolutely. But you still need to be able to stand.
Right.
I said, not to mention, and I said this in the boardroom, I looked across the boardroom at all of these sunken eye socket, high cheekbone, malnourished, non-outdoor industry bean counters and said, y'all do realize there are way more people that will buy this fishing kayak that look like me than look like you. And they said, what are you talking about? I said, there's way more 6'2", 250 to 350 pound rednecks out there that are going to buy this boat than 5'9", 135 pound creased slacks, cupped pants, penny loafing wearing some bitches. I promise you.
Right.
And they
Preach
said,
on. Yeah.
we have to make a boat that is appealing to everyone. I said, no, what you mean is you need to make a boat that's already appealing to the people you already service, and you're scared to make a boat that's wider, more stable, designed specifically for fishing. You don't want to make a fishing boat. You want to make a wreck boat and then make a fishing version by putting the word angler on it and sinking 2 flush mount rod holders. That is not a fishing boat.
Yeah.
And so we literally butted heads for almost 3 years before I finally won that battle. And I'm talking about butted heads. I had to threaten to resign from that company as the pro staffer before they would earnestly put the effort towards making a kayak designed specifically to stand up in. So it was frustrating for years. But at the same time, I looked at it like, well, nobody else is doing it. I'm at least with the best company in the game with the most resources, and eventually we'll get there. But man, there was probably a decade where it was so frustrating to know in your mind, to see what needed to be made, and nobody was willing to make it. That's why when the opportunity to go with the owner of Yak Attack, who had made some of the best accessories in the game, who had decided, to launch a kayak company, to say, hey, man, what do you think? And I said, well, I'm loyal to a fault. I don't have the ability to do anything right now. I'm never going to be the guy that kind of, backdoors an obligation. And like a blessing from heaven, just like when I told you guys, when I got the text message from you, and 35 minutes before that, I had watched the TV show and saw the Catfish talking about your podcast.
Yeah.
Inside of an hour of me having that conversation, I had gotten a call from the CEO of that company the new CEO, that they weren't going to be renewing the sponsorship for my show. And I said, okay.
There's the direction you're heading.
And then I called Luther back and said, hey, listen, man, I told you I'm loyal to a fault. I never would have backed out on my obligation, my existing obligation, but they actually called me and said, new CEO, new sheriff in town, they're going to change some things around. So I'm not even going to negotiate with them. I'm not even going to ask. I'm down. If you'll have me, I'm ready to go. But here's what we're going to do. And he's like, we've shared a vision on everything he's ever done. He's like a brother to me. And so
That's
to be
awesome.
part of taking a company from an idea on a napkin and to be there for the debate of what the name is, to be there for the debate of what the mission statement is, to be there for the what is the brand going to look like? What problems are we going to solve that exist in the market? What features and functionality are we going to go after that nobody else is? Man, dude, I just got goosebumps talking about it right now. And, I'm still on that ride. And that is one of the biggest blessings that has ever come along in my life is the time was right, right? The timing was perfect. But my life has been a series of this golden horseshoe that is wedged in my rear so hard that I can't get it out. That as long as I trust God, trust my instincts, listen to what he's telling me to do, and even if it doesn't make sense, just do it, it works out.
That's awesome.
But there was about a 2-year period from about 7 or 8 months ago back that I was an angry dude, right?
Yeah.
That when somebody challenged me, I would draw a sword. When somebody challenged me, I would buck. When somebody decided they wanted to cross me, I said, okay, I'm going to gut you, right? I'm going to make you unable to stand. Like, I'm going to do you like they did back in the medieval times. I'm going to cut both thumbs off and cut both big toes off, so you can't hold a sword or stand against me. That was my mindset. And honestly, man, like I hit a wall. I ended up going down this weird, crazy road. My daughter ended up dealing with some depression and some other stuff. Made me have to go sit and talk to a counselor because the state required it because of her. And then the person started asking me questions. And I'm like, hold on, we ain't here to talk about me. We're here to talk about my daughter. And she's like, well, we got to talk about everybody in the family. And you're her dad, blah, blah, blah. And so it was the biggest blessing in disguise. It pulled the veil back. It allowed me to kind of go down a road that I needed to go down. It allowed me to open up this box and empty out all this crap that I had put in boxes like we do as dudes.
Sure.
Deal with it, move past it. And honestly, I am the happiest person I've ever been. I can see me getting happier every day. Like you know how when you're working out and you feel yourself getting stronger? Like I feel myself getting better. I feel myself getting happier. I feel more pressure coming off. I feel more spiritually connected. I go to church now and I listen, whereas before I would go to church and go, man, I wonder who he's talking about, right? Now I go to church and go, oh, he's talking about me. You know, I'm hyper focused on being a better leader now. I dedicate 2 hours a day to what I call pet. I'm my own pet. I call that personal enrichment time. Like I listen to 2 hours of something, or I read 2 hours. I do either podcasts that are positive and leadership based or spiritual based. I read that are one of those three things, or I do some form of personal enrichment that's 2 hours a day. It's uncompromising. Right. I don't debate it. If I got to cancel something else to do it, I do it. It's a me first kind of approach. Kind of like when you're on the airplane and the little mask drops down and they tell you, hey, put this on yourself because you can't help the person next to you if you pass out. So, man, I'm going to be straight with you. Like when I was watching your guy on that podcast, he was saying a lot of the same things. He was talking about he grew up and his dad was a preacher, and he told him, hey, I can't go to church anymore, Dad. And his dad said, listen, don't worry about the church. The church is wherever you are. God's everywhere. Go out there in nature, and that's your church, you know? And I was like, man, I used to tell people, y'all go to church and think about fishing. I go fishing and talk to God. And I'm serious about that, right?
Yeah, that's awesome.
But I got away from it for probably 2 years. And, I'm a sailor. I spent 20 years in the military. There's a F-bomb or two that makes its way into my vernacular.
What?
Right? There's a mean streak that gets developed in somebody that did what I did for as long as I did it. And now I'm getting away from that. But at the same time, I tell people all the time, like, being a Christian, being a follower, being a spiritual person doesn't really have anything to do with the things you do. People who say, oh, he just cussed, he's not a Christian, that person's got something wrong with them, so that they're looking to you to find something wrong with you so that they can validate their own thing or their own selves better.
Yeah.
I promise you.
You see a lot of that. Yep.
Dropping an F-bomb don't create a busy signal to heaven. It just don't, right? It might actually make the line be open a little bit more, going, bro, you need a little more Jesus. You need a little more. You need a little more personal enrichment time. You might want to bump it up to 2 hours and 30 minutes a day instead of 2 hours.
Sure.
But I'm on that path now. It wouldn't have happened if I didn't meet my wife. She's kind of the spiritual leader of the house, even though I'm technically supposed to be. And it's great because it's allowing me to fix myself. The reason I'm telling you guys this whole story is this is all tied to kayak fishing, because kayak fishing is the only reason I'm still alive. There were times there was stuff that I needed to deal with that I couldn't have if I didn't have the ability to get in a kayak, go out in the woods, go out in the water, be by myself, paddle around lost, paddle around where I don't run into anybody. You know, I watch these YouTube videos where these guys go out and they get in fights with people at docks. And the guy's like standing there arguing back and forth with the person. I got the right to fish here. You need to get away from my dog. No, screw you. This is public water. I'm like, dude, you're losing. That person is winning because they are sucking the fun out of fishing for you. I don't want to argue with people when it comes to fishing. I want to go fishing and not run into anybody to argue with, right?
That'd be the better way to do it.
Yeah. And to me, I will go out of my way to be nice to people. I'm not going to a dock to try to fight with somebody. I'm not going to a boat ramp to fight with somebody. That's why I think kayak fishing is so awesome. That's why I decided to promote it. That's why I decided to be on the front wave of it, because if it saved my life, it can save somebody else's life. And when I run into kids at gas stations and they look at the kayak and they're like, man, that's cool. They are excited about not just kayak fishing. The root word is fishing, right? They're excited about fishing again. And they're like, man, that looks like fun. Well, we're in a constant battle in this country right now against the erosion of the acceptance of hunting and fishing, for one, as a lifestyle, and more importantly, the ability to get younger people interested in it. You know, when I was growing up and when most of you guys were growing up, you know, video games and probably girls, and maybe when you got into trucks and that kind of stuff, that competed with hunting and fishing. That was about it.
Yeah.
Now, our number one competition for our kids to get them to do something is actually not anything. It's nothing, right? And let me explain that. Kids these days are actually content on social media, double tapping their way through somebody else's life. That's for the doers. But there's plenty of people right now that are perfectly content doing nothing. There's kids who literally do nothing.
Yeah.
They sit on a cell phone. And I used to think the absolute worst thing that a kid could ever do is get addicted to playing video games. I was wrong. The worst thing that can happen is a kid getting addicted to watching a kid play a video game.
You're not kidding about that. I've seen a lot of that.
If you would have told me 20 years ago, actually, if you would have told me 3 years ago, one of the biggest trends on YouTube and social media is, and Twitch and all these other things, is going to be kids watching other kids play video games, I would have looked at you like you had a unicorn horn growing out of your head.
Mm-hmm. Chad, I do have one question. I want to back up a little bit. You said, you know, when things didn't work out with that company that you were with, and you sat down with Luther Cyphers. What venture were you speaking of? There may be some listeners out there who don't know exactly.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm presupposing a certain amount of knowledge. So Luther owns Yak Attack, and Yak Attack makes the best accessories in the game: rod holders, paddle holders, rigging, anything rigging, right? They make it. But the company that I'm talking about is Luther's other company. His other venture is Bonafide Kayaks.
Right.
And so Bonafide Kayaks makes the SS-127. They make the SS-107. Just recently released the EX-123. And then there's some other things in the works that I'm really not even sure if I'm supposed to talk about, but whatever.
Go on.
Go for it.
Yeah, there's some other stuff in the works that is really going to go to that next level. And then there's some stuff that, you know, was part of my original agreement to move over was, hey, at some point when the company's in the position to do so, I want a no holds barred. I win every argument. We're not fighting about it. Chad Hoover, this is my baby boat. Okay?
No way.
I'm going to wait for the release of that before I make a purchase then.
No, don't
Is
wait.
it going to be a small boat or is it?
Don't wait, because it's not coming this iCast, and it might not come the next one, but it's coming.
Okay.
And the reason it's coming is we are using the development of these other boats to be able to perfect some of the technologies and advancements that will need to have happen to make that boat.
I'll tell you what,
Well-
Chad, you said something a little bit ago that is dead on, brother. You said you were going at it hard and you just don't stop, and that is the God's honest truth.
That's
I mean,
the truth.
we're sitting here going, holy crap, I just signaled to the boys.
We-
I'm like,
we used
we're
to have a
past
show.
time. Like, it's
it,
how he did this to us. I have no idea. We've just been sitting here mesmerized
It
listening
used
to
to
this
be
story.
our
It's
show.
amazing.
I got ADD, right? Straight up, like no doubt about it. If they had ADD diagnoses when I was in school, they probably would have shot me with like a gallon of Ritalin a day. But the way that I stay sane is to task saturate myself. And so even when I'm not doing anything, I have to be doing something. And so I know this is going to sound crazy, but I'm going to go ahead and say it because, I mean, everybody knows I'm not right anyway. But I will read a book, listen to a podcast, and journal at the same time.
Yeah.
So I'm one of those people that has an uncanny ability to retain and process information. But I'm going to tie this all together, and then I'm going to have to jump off here. And I know you guys should probably finish this like it's actually your show, and I apologize for dominating the conversation. But this is what you get with me.
Go on.
All right. I love The Rock. Okay. And I love The Rock because I appreciate the fact that this guy wanted to be a football player, and that didn't work out. That sucker hasn't settled for anything. He couldn't play football, so he became a wrestler. He dominated wrestling and was making $8 million a year as the most popular wrestler in the world, and said, this ain't enough. So he decided he was going to go to Hollywood and dominated. And then that wasn't enough. Then he decided he was going to start a foundation, and that wasn't enough. Then he decided to start his own damn game show, and that wasn't enough. And I'm going to leave you with this quote, okay? This guy said this, and this is the guy that has the right to be whatever the hell he wants to be. And if there's a person on this planet that has a right to be conceited, that has a right to be arrogant, that has a right to be proud of what they've accomplished, it's Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, right? Because the guy's humble. He's conquered multiple genres of entertainment.
And we've all smelled what he's cooking.
Yeah, he's a good cook.
And he's a good cook. But he said on this show that somebody said a quote to him when he was in his early teen years, and it has stuck with him ever since, and he's lived his life by this philosophy. He said, it's nice to be important, but it's much more important to be nice.
Nice.
I just got goosebumps when I said it again. I got goosebumps when I heard him say it the first time. And honestly, man, I'm going to grind hard. I'm going
Nice.
to wake up every morning, and I'm going to know every night when my head hits the pillow, I soaked every last drop, every freaking morsel of juice out of the day that I just put behind me, so that I can get up at 4:30 the next morning, and I'm sitting on the pail in front of the udders to milk out of the next day, every drop out of it. I like being up at 4:30 so that by the time 6:30 rolls around and I see other people start getting up, I'm kind of like, welcome to the game, boys. You know?
What time do you go to bed?
Somewhere between 11:30 and midnight, 1 o'clock.
Chad, I don't know how you're going to add any extra, but
Yeah,
it's impressive.
This is one of the hardest core podcasts we've ever done.
Yeah, you ain't messing around.
So really quickly here, speaking of Dwayne Johnson, we're going to go to the Fast Five. And I'm pretty sure this is going to be as fast and furious as we've ever done it.
Yeah. We like to wrap the show up 5 questions where you just give us the first answer that pops off your head. Real quick, there's no wrong answers.
Chad Hoover style.
Yeah.
So, number 1, what are you most proud of?
Relationships. The people that I matter to them because of what I've done for them. So
Yeah.
the relationships that I've built, that's what I'm most proud of.
All right, Chad. Question number 2: what's the one thing that you can't live without in the outdoors?
More of it.
There you go.
More of it. Yeah.
More of it.
Awesome.
Number 3, what makes you happy?
suffering. I know it sounds crazy, but it really does.
No,
I got it. I got it.
Yeah.
The root, and you knew right, but it's not the suffering; it's the feeling afterwards when you've accomplished something. You know.
Right.
I tell everybody, the root word of success is suck.
Yep.
You ain't kidding. All right, then number 4, what's one thing you do every day to prepare for your outdoor lifestyle?
Knowledge. Read. I tell everybody it's the ready effect, but I call it the ready effect. READ apostrophe lowercase y. Read.
Gotcha.
Read something.
Nice.
Number 5. What's on that bucket list? Like, what do you got? Like, it's like fishing or even, I don't know if you do any hunting. What's on
I
that?
hunt.
Yeah. What's on your bucket list?
Most of my bucket list is hunting related, because I got away from hunting for a long time to build this fishing career. I'm developing KBF to a point to where October, November, December are mine. So I can travel and hunt and do those kind of things. My bucket list isn't a go places thing. It's a do thing bucket list. My bucket list is ass backwards from everybody else's. It straight up is.
Nice.
I have a timeline of things. And to me, when I accomplish those things, I either spread my timeline out or I compress it to where I've got less time to do each thing. But, my goal is to be at certain points at certain times. My bucket list is to achieve freedom.
Yeah.
The freedom to be able to do what I want to do, when I want to do it, how I want to do it, and not be emboldened to any single person on the planet except my family and my wife and my God.
Yeah.
That's it.
Nice.
Yep, I hear you.
So, Chad, obviously we appreciate the time. For the folks that need to get more of this inspirational stuff, get all the information that is jam-packed in your YouTube videos. I mean, we barely scratched the surface on some of the stuff that you share out there and the things you go over, but where is it that people should go to follow along with Chad and see what's coming up next for you?
The most intimate relationship you can have with me is on my YouTube channel. I'm more real there than anywhere. You can get all of me, okay? And that also sends you out to it's the hub, and it goes to all the spokes. KayakBassFishing.com is our website, and it's a place that I'm about to turn into the most powerful resource in the fishing universe. And that's not a figure of speech. That's not a sales pitch. That's what I'm telling you is going to happen, and I'm going to do it. It's going to happen. It's already happened in my brain. I can already see it. Now it's just a matter of being it, right?
Like
and so KayakBassFishing.com is one. My YouTube channel, KayakBassandTV.com takes you directly to it, or you can just the name of the channel is Chad Hoover. That's probably the best two places. That's it. Follow me on Instagram. Everything is at Kayak Bass Fishing. That's me.
Awesome.
Nice.
That's
Chad.
good. That's good to know about the information about the kayak bass fishing because I've been a member, so I'm waiting for this this universal takeover of KBF.
Love it.
Perfect.
That's
Nice.
going to be great. Chad, thank you again so much for your time, bud. And if you could do us a favor here, hold on the line for us real quick, because what we're going to do is send you out some of these no offense spices from our good buddy, Mr. Charlie Moore. And we'll make sure you get a chance to enjoy some of those.
It's made from the best spices on earth. No offense.
No offense.
Sounds good.
Charlie Moore is a good guy. Good guy. We'll send you some stuff. That way, I know a lot of your tournaments are catch, pick, and release. But if you ever keep any crappie or whatever, and if you're doing some hunting, throw some of this stuff on it when you put it on the grill.
Oh, bro. I
You're gonna
wouldn't
love
be
it.
here if it wasn't for white perch, sockeye, crappie, or crappie in some grease. So
Perfect. Well, you're gonna
there
like.
ain't no catch or-
You're
there ain't no
going to
catch
like
and
what's
release on
coming
mine.
your way then, bud. You're going to like this stuff. So hang on the line for us. We're going to wrap the show up. Give us just a moment.
Cool.
Hey, David,
Yeah, bud.
where can they find us?
You can find us by searching all social media outlets for Rut and River Pursuit. Make sure you look up YouTube, Rut and River Pursuit Podcast. Check us out at rutandriverpursuit.com. Also, download our episodes on Monday and Thursday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio.
I heart those radios.
Oh, it's
We
so
do
good.
love them.
And those Spotifys are great, too.
They're so good.
Boys, it's another epic week.
Oh, wait, don't forget.
Oh,
Guys, this episode is brought to you in part by Smoke in the Grove Barbecue Festival.
Smoke in the Grove.
That's being held July 26th and 27th in Spring Grove, Pennsylvania. For more information, head over to smokingthegrove.com. Love me them burn ends. And it's also brought to you in part by Moses Family Jerky.
Get out of town.
Oh, yeah. Get 15% off your next order by heading over to mfjerky.com. Make sure you use that promo code JerkyPursuits15.
And we're just going to wrap up Bass-tastic. It was an awesome June. We thank everybody.
So Bass-tastic.
It was. Thank
Can't
all
get
of our
enough.
listeners and all of our guests this month.
Mr. Brian, thank you, buddy.
Yes.
This is a good one.
Oh, incredible.
Good on you, boys.
We'll see you guys next month with an awesome month of hard-hitting America talk.
America.
Love it.
Awesome,
All right.
boys. See
See
you
you,
next
boys.
time.
Guys.
Nope.
I walked out in the captain's meeting and I said, guys, I'm excited to announce we got a new tournament management system. We're not going to be using this old crap anymore. We're not going to be doing it the hard way. We're going to be using Tourney X, and it's going to go live tonight, and tomorrow we're going to fish the tournament. And Dwayne's heart about fell out of his butt.
Shut your mouth.
And I told everybody, they thought I was crazy at ICAST when I first started going. I set up a kayak in a booth at one of the sponsors, and people literally thought a spaceship had landed at ICAST. What is that? Who? Y'all do realize there are way more people that will buy this fishing kayak that look like me than look like you. And they said, what are you talking about? I said, there's way more 6'2", 250 to 350 pound rednecks out there that are going to buy this boat than 5'9", 135 pound creased slacks, cupped pants, penny loafing wearing some bitches. I promise you.
Right.
And they
Preach
said,
on. Yeah.